Welcome back to Daily Harmony, everyone. Ready for another deep dive into A Course in Miracles?
Always ready.
Awesome. Today, we're looking at Lesson 115.
Okay, great.
But first, we should probably touch on, what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, with lesson 114.
Yeah, 114, right. It was all about, really trusting, that inner voice, that guidance that's always there.
Right, that quiet voice of wisdom, like tuning into a frequency that's always broadcasting, but we just need to adjust our receivers to really hear it.
Exactly. And, kind of picking up on that theme, Lesson 115 actually brings together two pretty big ideas, right, from Lessons 99 and 100.
Yeah, it does. It's like a review almost.
It is, yeah, a review. So I guess, for our listeners who maybe don't have those memorized,
Understandable.
that was good. Let's just go ahead and remind everyone. Okay, so
Yeah.
Lesson 99 says, salvation is my only function here.
And lesson 100 is, my part is essential to God's plan for salvation.
Okay, so, wow. When you just hear those like that, they're pretty powerful, huh?
Oh yeah, they're definitely big statements. And, at first glance, they might seem kind of, intense.
Intense, yeah,
Oh.
for sure. Especially that first one, right? Like, salvation is my only function here. Like, whoa, that's a lot to take in.
It is. I mean, you really have to, let it sink in, because it's asking you to kind of rethink your whole purpose.
Okay, so let's break it down a little. Like, when we're talking about salvation
Yeah.
here, what do we actually mean?
Yeah, good point. It's not about, escaping a burning building or something.
Right, right. Not a physical rescue mission.
Exactly. So for you, it's about, waking up, from this kind of dream we're all living in.
A dream, what do you mean?
Well, the Course calls it the illusion of separation. This idea that we're all, these separate, isolated individuals.
Okay, so, we forget that we're all connected.
Exactly. We forget our interconnectedness. So salvation in this context is about remembering. It's about realizing that we are part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Okay, I see. So our function then is anything that helps everyone wake up from this dream.
Exactly. And it shifts your whole perspective. Instead of being so focused on me,
Yeah.
you start to see how everything is connected.
Right. So even those little things we do every day, they could be part of this salvation function.
Yeah. Like holding the door open for someone or, just listening patiently when a friend is having a tough time.
Or even just smiling at someone you pass on the street.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about shifting from that ego-driven mindset.
The ego.
Yeah, that part of us that's always focused on what's in it for me
Okay.
and moving towards a more loving and compassionate way of being.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about Lesson 99, but what about Lesson 100? My part is essential to God's plan for salvation.
Yeah. Now, this one is all about recognizing your own unique value. Because sometimes, it's easy to feel kind of small, insignificant, especially in the grand scheme of things.
Right. You feel like, what difference can I possibly make?
Exactly. But this lesson is saying, no, your part matters. A lot. It's imagine a huge mosaic.
A mosaic.
Yeah, with thousands of tiny little pieces. Each one is different,
Yeah.
But every single one is necessary to create the whole picture.
Oh, I get it. So we're all like those little pieces, and
Yeah.
we each have our own special place in the overall design.
Right. And it's not just about the big dramatic actions either, It's those little everyday choices we make.
Right, like being kind to someone who's being rude, or choosing to forgive instead of holding a grudge.
Exactly. Because even those seemingly small things can have a ripple effect.
A ripple effect? What do you mean?
Well, if you choose to be kind to someone, even when you don't feel like it, that can change their day.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll go out and be a little kinder to someone else.
Oh, I see. Like it just keeps spreading outward.
Exactly. And before you know it, that one little act of kindness has touched countless lives.
Wow. That's kind of amazing when you think about it like that.
It is, yeah. And so when you put those two lessons together, 99 and 100,
Yeah.
it really challenges that whole me first mentality.
Right, right. It's not just about you or me individually reaching some kind of enlightenment. Right?
No, not at all. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together and that our individual awakening is actually part of a much larger awakening happening for everyone.
So for our listeners, people who are trying to really live these teachings, how do we actually bring this into our daily lives?
Yeah. It's one thing to understand it intellectually, but putting it into practice is where it gets real.
Totally.
So the review actually offers some really practical suggestions.
Okay, like what?
Well, for one thing, it talks about setting a daily intention.
A daily intention. Okay, so like, what would
Oh.
that look like?
It could be as simple as, like, when you wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
just take a moment to say to yourself, today I choose to be an instrument of peace, or today I choose to act with love and kindness.
Okay. So you're basically just setting the tone for your day.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be some big elaborate thing, just a simple reminder of how you want to show up in the world.
Right. Like putting on a new pair of glasses.
Haha, yeah, exactly. A new lens to view your day through. And another thing the review talks about is mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yeah. It's about, like, taking those little pauses throughout your day to check in with yourself.
Check in. What do you mean?
Well, just ask yourself, like, what am I thinking right now? How am I feeling? And are these thoughts and feelings aligned with my function of salvation?
So it's about becoming more aware of like our internal state.
Exactly. Because sometimes, we're just running on autopilot and we're not really paying attention to what's going on inside us.
Yeah, that's so true. So mindfulness helps us to like step out of that autopilot mode and make more conscious choices.
Right. And it's not about, like, beating yourself up if you notice you're having some not so loving thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have those moments.
Of course. But mindfulness just allows you to, like, see them without judgment and then hopefully choose a different path.
Okay, so we've got daily intention and mindfulness. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. The review also talks about getting involved in service projects.
Service projects, so like volunteering and stuff.
Exactly. Because, sometimes those abstract ideas like salvation and interconnectedness,
Yeah.
it can be helpful to, like, ground them in some kind of concrete action.
So by serving others, we're actually putting those principles into practice.
Exactly. And it can be anything, really, like volunteering at a soup kitchen or, just helping out an elderly neighbor with their groceries.
Oh, right. It doesn't have to be some big organized thing. It's just about finding ways to like contribute to the well-being of others.
Exactly. It's about, like, living your values.
Makes sense. Okay, so are there like specific exercises we can do to kind of reinforce these lessons?
Oh, yeah. The review mentions a couple. One is meditation.
Meditation.
Yeah. It suggests, maybe spending 10 or 15 minutes each day just meditating on the affirmation, salvation is my only function here.
So really just letting those words sink in.
Exactly. Because when you meditate on something, you're not just thinking about it intellectually, you're, like, letting it become part of your being.
Right, like absorbing it into your very cells.
Yeah. And the review also suggests journaling.
Oh, journaling. Okay, so how would that work?
Well, it suggests thinking back to a recent situation where you, like, maybe didn't act in alignment with these teachings.
Okay, like a time when you lost your temper or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then just write about it in your journal.
Yeah.
Explore, like, how you might have responded differently if you had remembered your function of salvation.
So it's kind of like a way to learn from our mistakes.
Exactly. And, hopefully avoid repeating them in the future.
Right. It's like, okay, next time I'm in a similar situation, I'm going to try to remember this.
Right. And to take away for you, the review ends with this really thought-provoking question. How can I more actively embrace my role in the plan for salvation in my daily life?
Okay.
And what concrete steps can I take to move beyond my ego-driven desires in order to fulfill this purpose?
It's a big one. So basically it's like, okay, we've talked about all these ideas, but now it's up to each of us to figure out how to actually live them.
Right. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about, like, understanding A Course in Miracles. It's about embodying it.
Yeah, that's so true. So for our listeners out there, if you're feeling inspired by what we've talked about today,
Yeah.
I think a good place to start is just to ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do today to like bring a little more love and kindness into the world?
Yeah. One small act of service.
Exactly. And just see what happens.
Yeah. See what unfolds.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a great deep dive. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And for everyone listening, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Harmony.
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.